It's chick season, and that means that every kid running through co-op is begging to bring some of these home. Well, before you do, there's some things you need to know. All right, so when you bring your baby chicks home, it's important that you have some type of brooder or container to keep them in. You need at least half a square foot per chick when you bring them home for the first week or two until they start growing. Once you have your brooder, you're gonna need to line the base of it with some litter, such as pine shavings. If they are newborn, very fresh chicks, then you may need to put a blanket over your shavings just for the first couple of days. Next, you're gonna need a heat lamp, as the temperature in the brooder needs to be 90 degrees for the first week or so. Another reason to have a sizable brooder is when you put your lamp on, you want to be able to point it to one side so that the chicks can move in and out of the heat as they need. They can self-regulate to some extent, and so you'll know if they're too hot because they'll all be grouped away from the light, versus if they're too cold, they'll all be grouped right underneath the lamp. And another reason you want to have a heat lamp is that red light is actually going to keep them from pecking each other to death, because, you know, hens can be mean. Once they begin to have more feathers, you're going to reduce the heat by 5 degrees per week. You can do this by simply moving your lamp away from your brooder. All right, so after you bring your chicks home, the first thing you want to do is give them clean water. We're actually going to wait on the food for about an hour before we give that to them after transferring. So with the water, you want to make sure to replace it on a regular basis, because being so young, they are very susceptible to diseases, and so that water needs to stay fresh and clean. All right, so after we let our chickens wait for about an hour after transferring, we're gonna go ahead and give them food. It's important to have some type of trough, otherwise these baby chicks are gonna try to scratch at it, and it's gonna make a huge mess. It's gonna put their food all over where their feces are, and so we wanna try to keep it as clean as possible, because again, they're very susceptible to diseases at this age. Just make sure that whatever you're feeding them at this point, that you're using some type of chick starter. You can talk to your local store and see what they suggest, as there are several different brands out there you could be using. One little tip that I have is don't fill up the bottle and the trough all the way. This is going to force you to clean it out even sooner, which needs to happen because they are going to scratch and they're going to get all that bedding into their trough. The next tip I have for anybody that's bringing home baby chicks and trying to raise them is make sure to keep your brooder clean. This is a key step. Whether you shovel it or clean it all completely out and replace most of the bedding, you have to do that on a fairly regular basis. Now, the last tip I have is make sure you keep some kind of soap nearby your chicks, especially if you have little kids. It can be very dangerous for little ones to handle these, and then they run around and stick their hands in their mouths and do silly stuff like my child does. So you gotta have this soap nearby just to help keep them clean and keep them safe. All right, guys, if you have any tips for raising baby chicks, let me know in the comments below, or if you got conned into buying any of these little mouthy creatures, show us some photos. And then make sure you head to Radio Red's YouTube channel and hit subscribe. From the cabin, I'm Luke Williams. Yeah, safe from Radio Red, I'm Ethel. That's what she meant. That pretty much sums it up, I think. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, no, you're just, at this point, you're a little mouthy, I'm gonna be honest.